frets and learningukulele.com. As soon as we know sounds coming through, I'll bag the headphones. But this is the first workshop. It's a continuation of the jazz chords. Right? So we'll wait a little bit to make sure we have sound before I had to repeat a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Now we will be back at the store, I think, soon. Our Funky Frets music store in Boyertown. So
Yeah.
you're live, good. So I can bag the headphones and get rid of this echo in my head. And it is the headphones, not just the normal echo. All right. So here we go, jazz chords. We'll do a quick review of what the jazz chords are, and then we'll expand upon it and explore it and cover a lot of material in this 1 hour. So a quick review. A jazz chord is simply a 4-part chord that finds its way into a lot of contemporary music. Right? It's based off of, we can base it off of our open position chords that we already know. So we already know C7, A7, G7, and maybe E7. Probably know all 4. If you know all 4 of these, you have a foundation for getting into the 4-part jazz chords, which are transposable and movable up and down the neck, just as bar chords are. So here was our first chord, first C7.
Maybe we should say there was a little mix-up with the videos and time, so we are doing the left-hand technique at 4 o'clock.
Yes, right.
So
everybody's
if
still
you're here
quarantined.
for that one, then come back for 4
Yes,
o'clock.
there's a little bit of overlap with a lot of these, but these are getting pretty polished, and when I get some time, I'll actually go back and edit these and put them into a really, pretty polished workshop. Cut out a little of the frivolous junk in the middle. But C7, if we took our C7, I bend my monitor down, always hand on comments, and we'll be playing along also. So here's my C7 that we all know. All we're doing to take any chord and make it movable, including these quote-unquote jazz chords, is refingering it, so finger 1's available to bar fret 1 once we move things up. So C7 gave us D flat 7. This week we're actually going to take all of them and move them to F7. So here's A7, moved up, B flat 7. A lot of people know B flat. All right, this is B flat 7. Now I identify these, keep track of where the root is, what string it's on. That is critical for moving it up and down the neck, which will bring up another point. People probably get tired of me harping it, but here is G7, probably like the third or fourth chord everybody learns. Moved up again, refingered, moved up, and allows you to transpose and move this up and down the neck. And if you know that note or have a chart for this chord, you can move it along the neck. And finally, E7. Move that up, you have F7. Now some people might know F7 as an open position chord. And these are 4-part chords, so this one has a duplicate A note. So here we're just getting the C in, so we have all 4 notes. The F, A, C, E flat.
Do you have all this in a book?
Yes, I do have all this in a book. Funny you should ask. But there's quite a few chords. I've written quite a few books for ukulele and guitar, a lot for ukulele at this point. Somebody once asked me from Hong Kong, he wanted all the PDFs of all 37 ukulele books I wrote. I thought, whoa, that's a lot of books. But there's some of them are in different keys, for different tunings. But for the chords, this is a collection of, I think there's 5 books up there. There's probably a couple more. But the advanced guide to chords, put the tongue back in, a guide to advanced chords for ukulele. This is what this is based off of. It's sort of like a textbook with the diagrams of the chords, and then it goes through telling you which note you have to change. It goes all the way into upper partials, extensions, alterations. It's pretty detailed. Now, the Exploring Jazz Chords for Ukuleles takes what we're doing here and gives you the transposition charts for the 11 core chords and it does standard songs to give you an opportunity to play the chord progressions for those songs. All right, so that was Kelly's question. Ready? So here's our first F7. This is the first F7. Now, I base all my 4-part jazz chords off of F7, because if all else fails through the steps we need to do to get these to like major 7s or major 9s and all this other wacky chord stuff that happens, we can always go back to our F7. So this was the first F7. Then last week we turned it into a major 7. We turned it into a minor 7, a minor 7 flat 5, a diminished 7, and finally an augmented 7 sharp 5. All right, and I'll show each one of them as I do have them. Let me go to this mode here. So here's the F7, and we turned it into F major 7 by raising the E flat to E, or F-A-C-E. The F minor 7, we lowered the third, the A to A flat from the F7, got the minor 7. Now these three, the F7, the F major 7, the F minor 7, of the big 6, these three are a little bit bigger than the other 3. They're used a lot, I mean a lot. Then we had F minor 7 flat 5. It's used a lot in minor keys and even used in major keys. Often, sometimes an alternate name for this, you'll hear it called a half diminished 7th chord with a different symbol. That is really, really rare and would only show up in a major key used as the 7th chord when you do a harmonic analysis, which is so rare I have never played it. I mean, I played the minor 7 flat 5, but I've never played it under its other name. Now we have the diminished 7th chord. That is pretty common. Everybody has played those already. Now I circled the F in this case at fret 1, but this could also be any one of the other names. This repeats every 3 frets. So any one of these notes could be the name of this chord. So this could be G sharp or A flat 7. This could be D, not 7, diminished 7. This could be D diminished 7, F diminished 7, E sharp diminished 7. I read in this jazz orchestration book I had bought once that this could be any one of 48 different names dependent on the context it's used in. But it only has to be one name, the one you're looking for. And finally we had F augmented 7 or F7 sharp 5. We raised the 5th. Now all these the lessons and stuff online, they will have these chords up here. A lot of them are broken into smaller lessons for exploring them, but they do, it's just as you see here, they'll have like this has the 3rd, the A, the flat 7, E flat, the root F, and then the sharp 5. Now, ultimately, you do want to know where those notes are. That really helps. Which brings, and then transposition, moving it up and down the neck, knowing that root to transpose it. And that brings us to this point I always harp on with a lot of people and all my students. If you really know the notes in the neck, and I mean really know them, not just figure them out, know them like the back of your hand. Oh, where'd that come from? The back of your hand. Just know them like second nature, like you know your name. If somebody asks you to spell your name and you spell it really fast, you might have to think, did I come out right? Or just really know it. Because it just opens up the world of the fingerboard. It allows you to ultimately forget a lot of stuff, because there is ultimately way too many guitar shapes is worse. Way too many chord shapes on the ukulele to memorize all these shapes. You memorize the basic ones, and then you get into it then, right? But really knowing the notes of the neck. Now that book used to be free online, but there's a lot of lessons online. I think it's $1. I've given away a lot of them. It's a PDF download, and there's actually like a 10-step program, and this book is based off of just doing key frets. The open strings, G, C, E, A. Fret 5, C, F, A, D. Fret 7, D, G, B, E. You memorize it. It's like a password. It is. It's really hard to remember. You hate it when a website tells you to change your password, and you type one in, and they said you used it already. It's like,
not enough characters.
Yeah, geez. Put a symbol in. Luckily, these are only one of 7 letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they have sharps and flats. But if you memorize one fret, you get the next higher fret for free, the previous lower fret for free. So ultimately, and then you add fret 2, A, D, F sharp, B, and fret 10, F, A sharp, D, G. I had a student, she called it fad sharp. You use whatever tricks and tips that you need to help you memorize it. Turn it into a saying, use it as a word, not many of them are words. C fad, a lot of people will know that. The word fad, F-A-D. So that means F sharp, A sharp, D sharp, F flat or E, A flat, D flat, right? So you'll never be more than one fret away from really knowing these. And that helps when I transpose this, as we'll see as we use these. All right, so that's the notes of the neck. Off of my soapbox for now. All right, back to F7. So we use F7 as the foundation for our building our chord vocabulary because it was the only chord based off of those open position chords when transposed up one step or one half step, what remained a natural note. So it went from E to F7 versus C to D flat or C sharp. So we use F7. You can actually learn to spell this one pretty easily because if you can spell the word face, you can get to the letters of the F7 chord pretty easily. F-A-C-E flat, E flat, right? Now we do want to find the other F7s, right? So if we took this C7 here, we moved it up to the D flat 7. This is the D flat. We need to find F on string 3. Look it up on a chart. Or, ooh, I just mentioned where it was earlier, C, F, A, D. So there we go. Oh, that's the wrong fret. Ignore that fret 1. I forgot to change that. This is fret 5. All right, so ignore that. I can fix it really fast, but it would take a little bit. So this is fret 5. So ignore that 1, right? So bar fret 5, add your second finger or third finger, second finger, to fret 6. This is F7. We'll go to the next one that has the right fret. Remember to fix that.
Should we write it down?
I'll look at it. It's hard proofing your own stuff. And some of the stuff it is somewhat a little advanced, a little bit, but so it's hard for some people to proof it. All right, so this is F7 here. So now this next F7 is we go up to fret 8 is F. So this is D, G, B, E, E, F always together, B, C always together. So here's my F, take a bar here, and I have F7 here at fret 8. Now just keep track of the root for now. Later on you'll really know the 5th, the 3rd, the roadmap to get through these. These are like, this would be like looking up in the night sky of a constellation. An astronomer would be able to tell you the name of every star that's in the Big Dipper. We look at it, and if we're lucky to find it, you know, we would know it as the Big Dipper, and that's it. We can maybe find the North Star by a little trick of, I think, the ladle part of it. The 2 stars point to the North Star. I always tell the story of Orion. You know, he has a belt. And he appears in the night sky. I don't remember if it's summer or winter, but he's at the end of our driveway. I think it's summer now, like this time of year. But you recognize him by his belt. But an astronomer would be able to tell you the name of every star. Right? So these, you do want to hit the point where you'll know the name of all these. There's F, C, there's my E flat. Right? Yep. E flat's here, A flat. F, no, excuse me, not A flat. F, F, C, A, E flat. Every F chord, no matter what it is, F flats or F sharps, is going to be some form of the letters F, A, C. If it's a triad, traditional triad. If it's a 4-part chord, it will be some form of the letters F, A, C, and E. So here's F, A, C, E flat. The 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, and the flat 7. So we have this F7, the next F7, finally this 3rd F7. Now they have fancy names for these, like drop 2, voicings, and different stuff like that, but that doesn't help us playing them. None of these are in the close position. Like this would be an F7 that you might play on the piano with the notes all within 1 octave. But that's not really usable. This one is, but the other versions wouldn't be. Here's F7 and fret 8. When you're practicing these, some practice tips are work through each one, check each note, and not only will your fingers remember the individual chords, notice I got my fingering got to the F7 before I got there. Right? If you have to wait to get up here and move your fingers, you really don't know it yet. So, we're developing the muscle memory. Muscle memory, very good thing. Muscle memory, very bad thing. Without muscle memory, we'd have to relearn to walk every time we stood up. That would be very bad. For chords, we developed the muscle memory. Our fingers will remember it and maybe be following our internal ear. And at times, I've done this where I forget a song and I'm playing it and I'm thinking, oh man, what's that next chord? And I'll look down and my fingers are ready to go. They remembered it. But then there'll be times when you're not paying attention and you're playing and your fingers will go. They always need direction, so they'll play something. So it might not be right. So F7, you do each one. Check the notes, you can finger pick them. Strum them. Then finally, the last F7. This will give us all 4 voicings, the 4 different arrangements of the 4 notes for the F7. This one has the root on string 4, fret 10. That's fret 10 is F, A sharp, D, G. Gets a little high. If you're on a soprano, you're definitely running out of room here, as typically a soprano has no more frets or notes after fret 12. So as you see, my 3rd and 4th finger are at fret 12. All right. So it gets tight up here too, but you move it around. If I move this to fret 5 with my first finger on string 4, fret 5, this is C7. Fret 7 is a D note on string 4, so this is D7. Same as this. Right? Right now, so that's the 4 F7. Let's review and ignore the wrong fret. This is right, fret 1. As you notice, I copied the graphic from this one and changed the notes around when I hit fret 5, but I didn't hit the fret number. Sorry. Oops. Fret 8. Fret 10. So now what do you do with these? Right? You could go back, but I would actually spend maybe a week or so on these and just really exploring these. Now here's a good way to explore them. Grab the blues progression. Do a C blues, C7, F7. Do it in open position first. G7. Now I was finger picking it using my thumb, index, middle ring, just 4 fingers, PIMA if you're using the classical terms, thumb just on 4, index 3, middle 2, and then 1, and just plucking them all together like a crab, just like. And the rhythm I was doing was a dotted quarter note to an 8th note, and it's counted like this if you had to count it. 1 and 2 and. So hit the hit on the 1, let it ring through the and. 1 and 2, and then on the and of 2, pluck it again. You make it short. Or strum it like. So when I'm strumming down and up some different spots, but my accent is on that. The dotted 8th, the dotted quarter note to an 8th note. Some people call this the rhythm of the Charleston. Tempo will be defined by how well you can switch to each of the chords. Right? So that was the C open position. Now we want to move it. So let's take the C7, and the closest one here, other than the open position one, is we have a C on string 1, fret 3. So it takes this shape, that's F7 of fret 8, and moves it to with the C on string 1. So this is the C7 we're going to do. All right, that's it right there, fret 3, C7. A bar, ba, and your second finger or even your third finger if you need to help your bar out with finger 1. Now, I keep all my fingers really close. When you're looking at my chords, it'll look like every finger is doing something, but typically they're not. They're just hanging out. A good guideline for technique, we're not going to do a lot here, but is play right behind the frets. Right, that's the easiest place to play the notes if possible. And keep your fingertips pointing to the strings and over the fingerboard, and even over the current strings or the notes that are coming next. So we have C7. Do the chord honesty check. Check it. Then we'll go back to this first F7 we did. Back to the C7. Then remember the blues. F7. Back to the C7. There's some pentatonic in there with the blues. Now G7, let's take the F7 right here, and you'll notice the F7 and the G7 in the graphics, the chord grid on your computer screen or tablet or phone. Is the F7 moved
TV.
up? Yep, TV. They'll watch a TV. Boy, I hope nobody's watching this on a big screen TV. Right?
Yeah,
It'd be
shower
scary.
today too.
Yeah. For all the listeners and viewers, I showered today for you. Pretty much do every day anyway. So this is the G7. So we have, and this is what we call voice leading. We're actually playing the closest one possible. So this C7 is C, E, G, B flat. Spelling. You know there'd be a spelling test, right? C, E, G, B flat. And the F7 is F, A, C, E flat. So the C is shared.
You would do better at a notes of the next spelling bee than a regular
spelling bee. You have to get it. There's no spell check for chords. You can't take your chords to Grammarly and hope it turns out well. It won't. It'll flag them as weird stuff. So just practice the swishing. This is the good stuff you can do while you're watching TV. Do it everywhere. Do it up and down the neck, just for practice and switching. But now we have C7. Your bass drum out, your foot.
You would think I would learn this stuff ahead of time, so I'd look like I know what I'm doing while we're here.
No, that's fine.
But I'm just right in the moment.
Yeah, that's
But
it.
everybody,
Good.
you know,
Makes them feel good out there that you can't manage that. It takes a while to get. So in music, when you're learning a musical instrument, it musically involves these three things: the melody, harmony, the chords, and rhythm. Putting it all together, and then you have to arrange it, put it together. But then there's another element, is the technique part, the technique, right? The physical aspect of getting this stuff to come out. Turns out the technique is the hardest part. The melody is pretty easy. The chord's a little tougher because there's multiple melodic notes at the same time. And rhythm is often neglected. But rhythm's very important. But that rhythm I was doing, again, I'm just strumming down and up, but I was accenting 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Let's try that. Let's do that. And everybody has success, so everybody get a 100 in this next thing at home, especially if you're by yourself, because if you're not, somebody might know. But we're going to do this. take like just your down up. I'll put a slight swing with it too. Go down up like a shuffle. Now we're going to count the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now usually you would accent the 2 and the 4. So I'm going to accent 2 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? Then switch 1 and 2 and 4 and 1. Right, so you would do that on all of them, just take an easy strum. Heck, if you don't have any strums down yet, or you're just really working on this, just let it go for a whole note. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and leave early. Got to get there on time. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I grabbed a new uke off the shelf, and I don't think it's probably bad.
Yeah.
It's not tuned down. I'll play quietly.
Right now, the line 1 had C7, F7, C7, 2 measures of C7. So that second measure is actually a good opportunity to play a different C7 chord. Now you can play the open position C7. So I could do C7, 2, 3, 4, F7 fret 1, back to C7, open position C7. Now, what happened there, my ear called it, is like the open strings, they didn't really mix real well with these stopped or fretted string chords. So a different C7 might be better. So let's do this C7. All right, so here's F7 at fret 10, way up the neck. We won't use this one a lot, but it's there. So we need to find C on string 4. A hint, it's at fret 5. There's a C7 there. This is the G7 shape. Moved up. G sharp, A flat, A7, A sharp or B flat, B, fret 4. Fret 4 is B, E, G sharp, beg, B, E, G sharp, C sharp, C, F, A, D, fret 5. So now I have that C7. So I can go from this C7 here to this C7. Right. The C7, these 7s are our foundation. So you need to know those 4 C7s. Here's F7s. F7 so well. Ooh, I think I played the E7 instead. You've got to know them really well, because if all else fails, you can go back to those. Now, I want to jump ahead one little thing. If you go back to these books, see that blue book up above, very top? That's a guide to blues chord progressions, and this is one of them. This is the Quick 4. It uses nothing but 7th chords. That book is
I like that book.
26 progressions that guides you through the blues using substitutions. So once it gets into like midway through, it really starts to do add some minor 7s and stuff like that for a fancy jazz blues. So back to the blues. What's that?
I like playing through that.
Yeah.
Even though I don't really know what.
Yeah, the Exploring Jazz Chords, that book, and the Blues chord book, just playing through those and just doing the grid, looking at the chords and playing those, you will just by osmosis absorb a lot of these chords as you go through.
Makes me feel like I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
If only I could memorize it to use it.
I used to tell this to my rock guitar students and stuff, because they always, especially in the rock and the guitar world, the beginners really admire their rock heroes and stuff, you know. I have some bad news for them, though, is that they just work really hard, you know, to get to where they're at, most of them. And they're using the same tools we are, so as you get better at it, you're going to slowly knock all your heroes off of their pedestal. That, wait, is that all they're doing? I can do that. Right? Now, so it's like you're given a box of crayons. I use this goofy analogy all the time. You're given a box of crayons, like There used to be a Howard Johnson's restaurants when you're younger, or even Friendly's does it. The kid will give them like 3 crayons, you know. And as a kid, you would probably, what the heck am I going to do with 3 crayons? Red, green, and blue, right? Darn. But then you look at the table next to you, and there's Picasso with 3 crayons, and he's doing amazing work. So it just matters what you do with them. All right, so C7. Now we have this C7 here, fret 3. Remember, this is off of our C open position chord. That's C, so remember that. Slowly, it takes a while. It takes a long while, really, to get these notes in the neck. But once you get it, it's like riding a bike. So you see, and then move to this one. Now, little tip and trick is my first finger is already on string 4, so I would just release the bar and put my finger on string 4, and I'll glide up here and get my G7 shape underneath it. So this is my C7 here. Go back to that. Let me see, which one was it? Oh, here you go. That one right there. If you look at that little triangle without the root, circled note, it looks like a G7. So some of this is the way to remember this, because there is a little gotcha with these chords. Is if I flip fingers 1 and 2, it's still a 7th chord, but it's not F7 anymore. So I'm up here at C7. If I flip these 2 by accident, it's A7. If I take this chord, F7, and I put this finger on string 3, it's a different 7th chord. So you have to be careful. 2 of the notes could be sort of put in the wrong order. All right, so back to the blues. So now I have this C7. You saw me hesitate a bit there? I verified that I had my right note as the root. Because it's still a 7th if I played it here, but if you wait to hear the chord to verify whether you have the right one, everybody will hear whether you had the right one or not. So verify it. So there's the C7. So now I have this. A C7 here. F7. C7. Right now, so let me see. I might be able to edit this really quickly. I'm going to, all right, so ignore. Oh, here's how we can ignore it. We'll get rid of some of these chords. All right, we don't need them anymore. You're pros, right?
Oh, wait, what? Wait, Betsy said the first F7 is cut off on the screen. Is it 0313?
There's no 0 in any of these. For the F7s. They're all stopped to strings. All right, so yes, here's the F7s. First one. Yeah, they shouldn't be cut off.
Can you move it over a little bit?
Nope.
No.
Because not everybody has to cut off.
Yeah, I guess. So the first one.
Yeah. There's no open strings in any of these. All right? Right. So here's, all right? So.
She can't see the 4th string. So that's string fret 2, second finger.
But to adjust your monitor or the browser or whatever you're using it in, you might be cut off the
it's like your E7 shape. Yeah, your E7 shape, and then add your first.
So now I have this C7, back to this C7. Now I'm up here at this C7 at fret 5, so let's play an F7 here instead of going back to the other F7. So here you go. This is the wrong fret number again, so everybody ignore that fret. This is fret 5. All right. Bar fret 5, and then put your second finger on string 1, fret 6. This is the F7 we want. So now I have C7 here, F7 here, C7. Moving up to this C7. All right. Then I'm going to play F7 here. I'm going to go back to this F7. Then up to this C7. Then another C7. Now G7. You can get fancy because we're really close, and this note here is shared in, this is a G note, is shared in this G7, but we're going to go to this one. Then this F7. Now, these 2 are the parallel movement, so you could actually play the note in between, all 4 notes in between too. Then C7, G7. Now, here's what's really nice about the home version of this game, the blues, is there used to be when I was growing up, playing like in different rock bands and stuff. There was always a story that traveling blues players would come through solo, and they would just pick up the local inexpensive rock band to play the blues behind them. And sometimes the blues with them, they said you had to be careful because it could be 12, 12 and a half, 13 bar blues, but you had to just really follow them. So if you're at home, your blues doesn't have to be 12 measures. It could be whatever you want. You're just exploring the form. So just add some notes in too.
Why we hide the chord charts?
I don't want you to use them. I want you to.
He says I need the chords back, old brain cells.
I'll talk you through all of them. Right? So here we have C7, bar fret 3. You want to memorize these. And you can't memorize these in the context of a single workshop. It could take a while. The majority of the people, it will take a while to get these. Because there's 4 voicings, so you might say to yourself, okay, I did the 4 F7s. Now I should really do the 4 C7s, or 5 if I include the open position. Now I should do the same thing with the G7. Luckily, the G7 is the F7 moved up. Now up here it gets really tight. I'm at fret 12, and if you're on a concert or soprano, this is very hard. So you can include the open position chords with these, especially if you're finger picking them. If you're strumming them, they might not mix very well with those stop strings. Open strings don't really mix that well. Unless there's a 0 fret, then sometimes that helps. But that's not the reason they did the 0 fret. They did the 0 fret, it was like a manufacturing thing, I think. It was really easy to get the intonation without having to spend the time to cut a nut really well. Because that's a real art in shaping and cutting these notes. If you just go a hair too far, you're doing the whole thing over. But with the 0 fret, it does make the open strings sound a little bit like the stop strings, but they still don't mix as well. They have a different timbre. So, C7, and always look at your chords and verify it. Because right now, when you're playing these, you go up to this area here. If you don't think about it, you're probably going to play an F7 when you might want a different chord. Right? So I have C7, F7, C7. I can do the open position. F7, F7, C7, G7, F7, C7. Now, do a rubato, very slow, bluesy ballad when you're practicing these at home. At home, you're home. Then add the blues in. G7. Keep the chord ringing like I did there. And I added the blues pentatonic notes in. Now there's a different fingering I did there. I'll show you what I did. I played this C7 here. Let me take the strap off. I'll choke myself. So I played this C7 up here at fret 5. One with the G7 shape, right? And I was going to the next C7. So these, this third finger is already on the right string, so I kept it down for the C7. So I would just bar here.
Barring N, the G7 shape?
Well, up here, it's not really a real bar. But
oh, you're getting the 4th string?
Right, then I'll go down. These 2 fingers are somewhat on the right strings if I go to C7 like this next. So sometimes I'll do this. Try to do efficiency of motion, just doing the least amount of work possible to get the music out. So you might have different fingerings, right? So I didn't have to do this. Right? Because here I'd have to take my 3rd finger off of string 3 and put my 2nd finger, I could have done that. So a lot of times if you explore these chords, without strumming them and really focus on the left hand. Look for efficiencies. Now, this is one place where a good teacher would really help. Is like a guy I studied with wouldn't let you get away with anything, and I don't either with students. So, jams and stuff like that, I'll point things out sometimes, but I won't be brutally honest with most people.
You're not?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. No, unless they ask for help, then I'll help them. But otherwise, I'm not going to
Maybe sometimes you think you're thinking it, but it is coming out.
I mean, the notes of the deck, I'll harp that point. I'll mention counting in, stuff like that, counting songs off, little musical things, arrangement part. But technique-wise, I'll point some things out, but I won't really say well, your technique's really lousy. You should do this or that, right? Now, sometimes, like the other day, it happened a bunch of times, people would say their instrument's buzzing. They'll bring it to the store, and I'll play it, and it doesn't buzz. Geez, what the heck happened there? And I'll just point out to them, it's like your technique. They're too far from the fret, or they're digging in too hard, stuff like that.
Overdriving.
In fact, that's one of the biggest reasons that ukuleles and acoustic guitars come with the action a bit higher than you would like for some people, is that most people, when they get their instruments, if they're inexpensive or beginner or middle grade instruments, they'll play them too hard and they'll develop buzzes and stuff. And plus, it's a lot easier to lower the action on an acoustic instrument than it is to raise it. Raising it means cutting the net or cutting the new nut or putting shims in here. So you don't necessarily have to set up all these inexpensive mid-grade instruments. You should wait until the player's going to play them. It's not like an automatic, I better lower the action to this, lower the action to that. It depends on the player.
It's like setting the car steering wheel and seat for a driver before they get in the car. You don't know where they're going. There's some chat comments about challenging of bar chords and
challenging. Here's a tip on bar chords. Here's a tip you don't want to do. You'll hear this all the time. Put your finger right behind the fret and then roll it towards the nut. But that pulls you off of the fret. Look at it did to my finger. You want to take your finger flat, put it right behind the fret, and then roll it up onto the fret. It puts it on a flatter part of your finger, and it's right behind the fret. Practice the bar. There's a lesson online on my website for practicing the bar. Start with 2 strings. Get very good at 2 strings. When we get back to the store, we'll have an overhead camera for doing stuff. 2 strings, 3 strings, and everybody's finger is slightly different. Where the little creases and where your knuckles go, is make sure they are not right under one of the strings. Where no matter what you do, if I got my crease right over the string, it's going to buzz no matter what I do. So, adjustment. Focus on it, look at it, just pull your finger up to the frets and roll it up. Roll it up onto the fret. Like you're polishing the fingerboard. So start with 2 strings. And your fingers should be free, be able to play. 3 strings. Right? Check the notes. 4 strings. Luckily we're done on ukulele, there's no other strings. Right? Finger 1 is the one that can do the most successful bar, especially for single notes. We don't really bar any other finger unless it's some really fast rhythmic thing. That's the next workshop. We'll cover that a little bit. Yeah, bars are tough. Just have to work it. The hardest place to play the bar is fret 1. So B flat is probably one of the most challenging chords to play, yet we need it really pretty quickly. But B flat 7, B flat minor 7, pretty challenging. Move it up the neck a little bit and try fret 3, 5. You'll have more success initially. It's just for practicing the bar. And hold it. There's about 40 pounds of tension on the ukulele, and you're trying to press it down. If you took this finger and pressed the string in the middle here, it's pretty easy. If you pressed it at the extreme ends of that string, it's hard. So when you press up here at fret 1 area, it's a lot more challenging to press here than it is elsewhere. But behind the fret, right behind the fret, if possible, with all your notes. Some chords, it's not possible. Single notes, it's entirely possible. If you're too far from the fret, you're going to get a buzz, and you won't know it's you. You'll think it's like an instrument or something else. So lessons are key, really, actually. I can can guarantee that I would not be perceived to be as good as I am without having taken lessons. Think of it as like a coach, you know. Concepts are simple, but a good coach will point out the little subtle things.
Or you think you're like, you think you're holding it right, or you think your fingers are right, but someone else sees, no, no, you're too far. You're
thinking you get in trouble every single time. It's overrated thinking. Now, think in the practice room. Now, here's a good guideline for practice. Is if you're practicing and it's sounding pretty good, you're not practicing. You're not working on stuff that needs to be worked on. And beginners and intermediate players, they tend to really want to focus on songs. A song is the recipe. Like if I'm playing this stuff here, like what are the ingredients that I need? Like the technique I need these chords. I need to know the blues pentatonic scale. I need to know the thirds. I need to know the chords, stuff like that. That's probably like 9, 10 beats.
So you always say, why should I teach you one song when...
Yeah, here's the other. I've had students do this. This is a little story. They'll come in and they'll play this song on guitar. I'll play it in D minor. Pretend it's A on guitar. They won't do it like that. They'll do this. Use one finger, but it's a mess. It's actually a mess. But they'll start really early, like a week after they get their guitar, they want to do it. And some of them will say, okay, we can try it. You know, you need to be able to do this. We'll talk about the chords. It does these contrary motion with the chords. It's doing these fancy cliches. It has 4-part chords in it. It has a lot in it. And they'll try to do it, and they'll usually bail out within a month or 6 weeks of trying it because they just cannot flat out do it. So if you spent 8 months learning the basics, some simple stuff, just getting your fingers working really well, I guarantee you at the end of those 8 or 9 months of really working on this difficult stuff, man, you'll flip through songs.
Tons of songs.
Yeah, here's another story. The fellow I studied with, I was studying jazz, and it was like, God, it could be like 8 years into studying or something, a really long time. He says, you know, Kurt, you really should be working on some songs. So he said, pick 5. So he said, pick 5 songs for next week. Now he meant 5 songs. I had to do this. I had to be able to play the melody by itself on the guitar. I had to be able to play the background chords as if I was accompanying somebody. I had to be able to improvise over the chord progression. And I had to have a melody and chord arrangement as if it was like a piano player at a piano lounge. 5 songs, 5 times 4 elements. But I had done like the 8 or the decades worth of work or something behind that. I almost pulled it off. It helped. So you do have to put the work up front. If you put the work up front, you'll get it back. It's like money. This is a scary story with students nowadays, young kids. After I asked, the parents will ask, how long should little Johnny practice? And I say, well, 8 hours a day is pretty good. If you do that, you'll do pretty good. It goes over their head usually. 8 hours a day. And I say, no. The secret's every day, just a little bit. But think of it this way, and this is like somebody 3rd, 4th grade or something. Say you're saving money. If you save $1 a week, how much do you have at the end of the year? You'll be surprised at the answers I get. Rarely is it 52. Then I'll say, how about your buddy? He's saving $1 a day. How much does he have at the end of the year? The answers are even off the charts for there. Rarely do I get 365 days. 364 days or 300, whatever it is, right?
I blanked too.
One student asked me, he was a really smart student, is it leap year? Oh, yeah, he was thinking he'll do good. The moral of the story is, who has more money at the end of the year? I don't ask him to do the difference because I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
But you're guaranteed to, whatever you put in, you'll get out. Guaranteed. So the blues is a really good vehicle because there's a lot of songs in the blues jams that we do. All right. That you can do these. Exploring the blues in the common keys. We did it here in C. I would then move it to the key of G for this reason. So if I did it in C, I have C7, F7, and G7. Now if I move it to G, I have G7, I have C7, and I only have to add D7. I'm only adding one chord. So C, G, then do it in D. You got to do it in the guitar keys. D, and now I have D7. I have the G7 again, right? And then I add A7. So I'm only adding one new chord. Don't jump to a completely different key. So, oh, wow, we'll do it in E flat or some bizarre key. But do the common keys, C and G right off the bat. Then I would probably jump to F. That's a ukulele key, F. Then I need B flat 7 and C7. So take the Cycle Fist, if you're familiar with it, download that little chart somewhere, and pick a key, C, and do the one to the right and the one to the left. And you're only adding one new chord if you do it that way. But there's 4 of each one. Here's C7, 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 C7. So if you don't have a tenor, run to Funky Frets and buy a tenor. Or one of them new long neck tenors, right? It's a lot of work, but guaranteed it's worth it. So we didn't even have to do things like turn these into major 7s yet, minor 7s, right? Some students and you would go through each. This is where adventures, you learn the F7, right? And then we went over the concepts of doing them. But notice how we just jumped in and did the F7 now instead of going down that wormhole of the minor 7, major 7s, all those wacky ones. A lot of people there on comments, huh? Yes, grasshopper. It's funny. Yeah. There's a lot there. Everything I dive into myself, initially, man, everything just goes over my head. It's like, what the heck are they talking about? So takes a bit. So we'll explore these even more next week. We'll come up with some other stuff. What we'll do is we'll use the blues. We'll go through like that blues book a little bit, and we'll take this blues progression here, and instead of doing C7 again at the end of measure 4 at the end, we'll add a substitution that's going to link us to the F7. So C7 does want to go to F7. That's the 5 of F, C7. So we'll add the minor 7 ahead of it. So we'll get something like this, C7, F7, then we'll do G minor 7, C7, F7, right? We'll add one new wrinkle to some of these. Is that all right? Now, a little...
I missed my mouth.
Yeah, some resources. You're on camera. Here's some resources here. You can view this here now, and little tiny stuff bugs me. I see a gap in my lower third banner. Now, this is a chord chart for building chords. It gives you all 15 keys. You'll get the right spelling guaranteed on this chart for every chord. And then the back side or front side, depending on which side you looked at first, gives you the numeric formula for looking up the chord tones. All right, because there's such things as E flats, F flats and E sharps, B sharps and C flats. It's there for the correct chord spelling. All right, and then these chord books. If you're a member of my website, and a bunch of you already are.
What's that website?
LearningUkulele.com, the most comprehensive ukulele site in the world's most comprehensive ukulele site. I'm contractually obligated to say that now. I have to say that. But it is pretty comprehensive, though. It has more than just lessons and songs and tons of stuff. It turns out the ukulele is actually harder to play than the guitar when it comes to doing these advanced fancy chords and chord melodies and stuff, because we don't have extra strings just to sort of fall back on and move our voice into another string. And then this here. So those books, they're all the chord ones. So if you do exploring, and if you are a member of the website, a gold member, forever member, you can download all these for free. And remember, oh man, it gets giddy. This is like doing some of those festivals I did where I had to do like 4 workshops in one day. Man, that last one must have been hilarious. Came out with his eyeballs.
Yeah.
But these books, if you're a forever member or a gold member, you can download them all for free And forever members, even if you did it a long time ago, you get a free session with me to go over whatever you want. You can be in person at the store if you're in the area, or we can Skype or FaceTime and just gather your questions, or I can help you set up a good plan for getting to the next level, right? So I'm going to be really booked with lessons because I have a few forever members that. But you have to call me. I'm not going to call you. There's a reminder on the website, though. Right. And then do this. Geez, man, it's so hard, but it's so. Once you do it and get it, the notes in the neck, oh man, you'll thank me. And I don't ask anything for it, but it is not as hard as you think. All right.
Betsy said #forever member.
Yeah, she is.
Marion too.
Yeah, it's a bunch of them up there. Yeah. You get a free lesson.
Guys.
What's that?
From being a forever member.
Yeah, thank you very much. I got another one today somewhere. That helps.
All right, yeah, so we'll see you at...
Oh, I see a comment. I didn't bring a tuner upstairs.
That was me.
Kelly. Yeah. All right, and
first I didn't bring a uke up. Yeah. And I grabbed a new one, and then I didn't have a tuner.
Things to look forward in the future for our workshops here are they will definitely be better at a certain point because we have a bunch of these. You're getting some into that you can do it yourself. These audio interfaces, some better mics. Our lady, we're going to set something up at the store so we'll be able to do these a lot. I'll probably start streaming something every Monday, I think. And it's most likely it's just going to be whatever I'm working on at the time, like struggling to a song or something like that. That'll be a real free form.
Steve
Because streaming is the way to go nowadays, right?
Steve M's on too, forever member.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep. And Steve C. A lot of them.
We gotta keep that. You have to use that #forever member.
Yeah, forever.
Like that.
We gotta get here. We don't have TJ here, but remember to like, subscribe,
comment, share.
Yeah, hit the notification button to let us know what you would like us to go over. Right?
Yeah.
We used to always jokingly say to people that studied. I studied with Chuck Anderson. Like some people ask me, what school did I go to for music and stuff? I went to Chuck University.
Hard knocks.
Yeah. Back in the day, even then, there wasn't really college stuff for this, but now there is. But still, I don't know how well it is. But yeah, private study, man, that's the way to go because it's totally customized to what your goals are. Should be. If not, get a different teacher. And goals can change. Learn so much studying with people. And don't have to study with only one teacher. You can study with as many as you want. I'm flipping through the pages. Review. All right.
Rick.
We'll hit the minor sevens for sure.
Rick asked, how do I become a gold or forever member?
Just go to the website.
Wait, go back.
The music back?
Yeah, go to learningukulele.com. Yep. And then there's...
Register for free as a bronze member, I call it. And then you can just click on the forever membership. Right now it's only $149.
On sale.
At some points it's been up to like $200 some. One day I'm going to do this. It's like there's a lot of, I get calls sometimes for lessons online, want me to be on this site to teach and stuff like that. And there's a lot of teachers on the site. So I did go on one teaching site for a local area, but I set my rate at $100 because I really don't want to get a lot of people calling. But if I do get the person calling $100 an hour, there's a couple of teachers that do charge that in the area. They're real, top flight. Like Pat Martino, maybe Jimmy Bruna, Chuck. I know is $1 a minute now or something, but great. So yep, go to the site, then you can click on the button to Forever Site Access.
Yeah, if you scroll
or email
down.
me, I can send you a link, but you have to log in first. You have to register for first. It's just for free.
Here, I'll put it in the comments.
Forever Gold membership plan. And you get all my books for free, access to all the lessons. Some of the videos now will be just for members only, because there's a lot of work. Like all these lessons here, I'm going to go back through and clean them up and turn them into like really, they're pretty nice now, but turn them into better videos.
About the banter and Kelly throwing iced tea on her face and
the flubs,
Last week when I said when I said augmented instead of F augmented.
Yeah, I'll probably learn to pronunciate a lot of the, put the correct emphases on the right syllables as I go through the script of what to do with these. All right.
All right. We'll see.
Take advantage of my graphic abilities.
At 4 o'clock, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Technique.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, you're welcome. Hey, look, Kelly's here.
I'm here.
Like that.
Hey.
All right, let's hit the ending with the music.